Hey friends over here on YouTube, this is Joey with Created in Awe, and I wanted to show you the slower version of putting together our fall inserts for the DIY interchangeable display easel. I think that's the name of it. These are the 3 plaques that you can insert into that for fall. So you had the Hello Pumpkin you saw. This is our Give Thanks for November. Lots of little parts and pieces, and I'm going to show you how I'm painting these up, but you can do it however you like. So this is just a quick review of how these go together. Look at the Hey Boo for October. He's so cute. Little hands and a heart on that pumpkin. So let's go ahead and paint up Give Thanks. I'm starting with a brown glaze. So when you paint it on like this, it kind of works like a stain. It's very slick and kind of thick, a little more slick than wax, I think. This is from Couture. All the supplies are going to be shown in the description, and you can get to my links for the affiliate. So I wiped off the excess. I did let that sit and dry for a few minutes so it would stay a little bit darker. The words Give Thanks, I'm using Plaster color from Waverly chalk paint. Now I thinned this down to show you a different technique later, so I'm giving these 2 layers of that plaster paint, and I dab it on with a sponge dauber and kind of swipe to smooth out the texture. There's the little dot for the eye, and then we're going to move over and I'm going to work on these other pieces, the corn on the cob with the silks and the leaves and the wheat and all of that. So I grabbed Maize color from Waverly chalk paint, and I'm doing all the leaves in the Maize color. We'll go ahead and I'm playing with the orange color that I'm going to show you in a minute, but forget that. I'm going to go over it with something else. That was just a test. So I got all the leaves painted in Maize and went back over that one because I didn't like the way the color looked. Also, I'm going to paint the corn for our little cob of corn, ear of corn. It's an ear of corn because it's got the silks on it, I guess. It doesn't have the green wrap, whatever you call it. Anyway, we're going to move on. I'm going to take that same Maize color and I'm adding a little bit, and I thought this was my plaster color because the other video went so fast on Facebook, but that's actually an ivory color from Couture, and I'm blending it together very light in color to be the silks coming out of the cob or ear of corn. I guess you call it an ear of corn. You don't have to do that on the back layer that's right above what I'm painting because this is going to overlap it, but you do have to do it on that piece that has all of the scored lines. Now I added even more light color to that same paint blend to be my wheat color. You could go with something totally different if you wanted to. There's so many colors out there, but I just thought it'd be a little easier just to work with the paints I had sitting out and just made a lighter version. You can kind of see the difference. Anyway, I grabbed the Couture in Firelight and I tapped it on to my leaves with a tiny paintbrush, and then I took a sponge dauber, wet it down, and I'm just dabbing over those dots to kind of blend it. I don't want to get rid of the yellow color totally, but this is going to blend it quite a bit. That paint, the yellow paint, is dry. So I am just really softening the orange color that's going over the top. And it looks a little bit splotchy, and that's okay. That's kind of what leaves look like, right? So kind of giving it that orange-yellow tone. And I'm going to work with these more a little bit in a minute. But now I am mixing the orange and my lightened yellow color together. And I have a teeny tiny paintbrush, and I'm tapping little dots onto those pieces of corn that have been etched out with the laser cutter. If you don't know, these kits come from Christina over at the Rust Covered Cottage, and I mean, her kits are amazing. This is part of our collection together called Farmhouse Charm Inspired by Joey. So this is one of our fall pieces. I have more coming, but I wanted to show you. I'm just highlighting in those pieces of corn that are outlined, and you could choose any color you want. You could go with a lighter color, you could go with a brown, you could do like an Indian corn look, whatever you want, but that's what I chose. All right, now I'm going to add just a tiny bit of red. I think this is Crimson from Waverly, and I have watered it down like watercolor. And I'm just putting a tiny bit, didn't like that, that was too dark. I'm getting the watered down paint and just putting it on the tips of some of those leaves and blending it into that orange. We still have yellow going on, we still have orange going on. See, that's it from the base going up. I'm doing each one a little bit differently, so they're all unique. Some in the middle, some on the outside edges, some I'm not adding red to at all. It's just to give it dimension. And those pieces are all painted for this plaque, so we're going to glue it all, well, not quite, but that's okay. I'll show you in a minute. This is art glitter glue. I get it from Amazon. It shows white. It's very thin. It dries fairly quickly. It does take a few minutes when you put thicker glue on, but it will dry clear is what I like about it. And it doesn't dry so quick that it just sticks like my fingers together like super glue. So I just dab on little dots, and yeah, that's too much glue. I'm always using too much glue. You could paint it on, or you could even use a little attachment that comes with the bottle that gives you more of a real fine dot. I should have done that for these. But anyway, it is what it is. We got all the pieces lined up with those scored lines on the back of that base piece. Now I'm adding the corn to the front, and look what I missed. I missed that piece of wheat that is sticking out the sides. So after I glue these other pieces of wheat on, I'm going to have to go back in and remix some paint because I already washed up my tray. So I just need a teeny tiny bit, dabbing it on with another paintbrush, and it's pretty close to the color of the wheat that I've already used. So I'm just going to touch that up. And you have to kind of create that bottom leaf right next to it. So be careful when you paint that. Here we go. Now we're on to our Hello Pumpkin. So this time I grabbed Plaster. This is the watered down plaster color that I had used on Give Thanks. I know that it looks like I'm totally out of order because you're seeing pieces sometimes that are painted up in the background, and then the next video you see they're not. I wanted to show you, I paint my pieces like I'm going to do all the white at one time, I'm going to do all the orange at one time, and so forth. But that gets confusing for you to see different plaques and different pieces. So we're pulling together each plaque and its components in one section of this video. So here's all the parts for Hello Pumpkin. We're giving it a wash of watered down paint. When I glaze over it with a flat brush, it doesn't sink in as heavily to the scored lines. Now, it's not a big deal on this plaque, but you're going to see in a minute why you want to do this sometimes. And you see I also painted that little heart white. Now we're going to move to the pumpkin. I just went ahead and painted the whole base of it and the stem orange. You could go with different colors. You could do some shadowing. You could do blending different colors together. This time I just went with a solid orange pumpkin. Now the leaf, we're doing that same technique. We're starting with, this time I just kind of went ahead and blended my orange and yellow in different spots. Blended that together. And then after I had done those other leaves with the red, I decided to come in and add some to this. So now we're going to add, well, in a minute, we're going to add that red. I'm going to go ahead and do now the Hello Pumpkin words and the button that's part of this plaque. And that's all going to be black. So I'm just dabbing that on. That's Waverly in the color ink with a sponge dauber. And then I do my little swipe to smooth out the texture. Same thing on the button. So get all that painted and set that aside. And now we're going to come back with the red for the flower that's part of this plaque. You could put this flower anywhere on the plaque you want. You'll see that you have plenty of room. I put it in a particular spot, but you could choose whatever you want. And here we go with the watered down red, kind of blending it into that orange to give it a little more depth. And there we go. There's that leaf. Now we're ready to glue this one together. So got our pumpkin and all our pieces. It's a little bit like a puzzle. So I'm going to start with the words. And I do recommend that on this one because your P in pumpkin in the middle is going to fit like a puzzle into the pumpkin. And it might be more difficult to add the words if you do the pumpkin first. So I do the words first and then the pumpkin, fit that around there. And then we have pieces that go on top. So if you can tell, that shows the cutouts. You can just line it up with the scored lines, and there's the little heart that goes in, and the leaf fits right there. Now that flower you can put wherever you want. You can put it beside the pumpkin, you can put it up above. I went ahead and put it on the pumpkin with the button for the center. Now we're moving on over to Hey Boo. Hey Boo, the background is going to be black. Now I'm doing it very thin. You can't tell because black is so dark, but you can kind of see. It's pretty thin so that I can still see the scored lines and know where everything is going to be glued on. Now this is where that watered down version of my white paint is important. I want to see these scored lines. I'm going to give that ghost a second coat, and we are going to highlight them, but I can still see those scored lines, and that's important to me so that we can, you could leave it like that, or you can come in like we're going to do here in a little bit and touch it up with something. So don't forget his hands. That's what those little triangles are. Now we're going to do the words. They're going to be in our Firelight color. It's that same orange I've been using through the whole project. And then the pumpkin, of course. Same thing, I'm just doing the stem. You could do different colors if you want. There's that little tiny heart that gets added to it. And you could do that in a different color. You could do it in black if you want, or white. I chose the red. Now I have a glaze that I am using to fill in those eyes to really bring them out. But I didn't want black. You can see it's a little bit softer than black. Now that teeny tiny brush, using a little bit of glaze, and I am basically painting down those scored lines because I want it to look a little more shadowy. And that's a paper towel that I'm using to kind of swipe over it and soften it. And look, it's like a little dress on our ghost. It's so cute. So we're going to glue it on, same process as before. Dot that glue on to the back of the piece, and I'm lining it up with those lines. Now Boo was a little messy. You'll see here in a second. I got it in the wrong place. I started to put it down without really paying attention, and it shouldn't have, and then it fell. So okay, you can see my baubles leaves glue all over the place. It does dry clear. You can kind of see the dots, the shape of the dots, and it's a little bit shiny. So I do recommend spray over all of your pieces with I do a clear matte sealer so there's no shine. I had to give this one a couple of coats to really cover up those glue dots. And it helps to protect your chalk paint too. So we added all of the pieces for the ghost. There's the pumpkin and the heart, and now his little hands. Each one is a different shape, so pay attention to where that attaches, and it looks like he's holding the pumpkin. He's so cute. There we go. Okay, so this is your easel. It's a different kit. It is called the DIY Interchangeable Easel Display Stand, but that home plaque that you see comes with it. You do it all together as one kit, and then you can pop that out with the hole in the back and change it out. We have a set of summer plaques. We have these fall plaques. We have some inspirational designs. We even have blank ones. And we have more coming for different seasons. So I want to see what you make. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe and tell your friends.